Good afternoon. This is Betty Meredith, President of the International Retirement Resource Center, and I'm happy to be here with you today to host the Personal Cost of Caregiving, Women Need to Protect Their Retirement Too with Cindy Hounsell. It's estimated that more than 36 million households across the country have an adult who is providing unpaid care to a family member. 66% of those caregivers are women, according to the Caregiving in the U.S. study by the National Alliance for Caregiving. Caregivers spend an average of 20 hours a week on providing care, leaving them less time for paid work. In some, caregiving has serious financial consequences for those providing the care, and it's important for women to understand these consequences and how to take steps whenever possible to protect their retirement security. Our presenter today is Cindy Hounsell, JD, President of WISER, which is an acronym for the Women's Institute for Secure Retirement. WISER is a nonprofit organization that seeks to improve opportunities for women to secure retirement income and to educate the public about the inequities that disadvantage women in retirement. Cindy has testified before Congress, served as a delegate for a number of White House summits and conferences, including the last two White House conferences on aging, the White House Social Security Conference, and each of the National Retirement Saver Summits. She has written several books, columns, articles, op-eds, papers, and booklets on women in retirement. Two booklets, one which is called What Every Woman Needs to Know About Money, and the second one, Retirement, A Simple Guide, What Everyone Needs to Know About Money in Retirement, have appeared as inserts in Good Housekeeping magazine to a readership of over 26 million. As Director of the National Education Resource Center on Women in Retirement Planning, which is funded by the U.S. Administration on Aging, Cindy has provided technical assistance to several national organizations as well as training to leaders and grassroots advocates across the country. She was recently appointed to the advisory panel on Medicare education, representing the field of retirement and financial planning. I am thrilled to bring this presentation to you today. I heard Cindy deliver this at a couple of presentations a couple of years ago on behalf of INFRE, and I'm sure you'll find it as fascinating as I did. So Cindy, welcome to the program today, and we're glad you're with us.
Thanks a lot, Betty. It's great to be here with all of you. I thought I'd begin with a little story on how I happen to get involved in this aspect of women's retirement, and that is that about 12 years ago, I was invited to speak at a big aging conference in Pittsburgh, and the people there said to me, you know, it'd be great if you could talk about like how these issues affect caregivers. So I talked to someone I know who runs the National Alliance for Caregiving, and I said, you know, one of the things we hear from a lot of women is that they take care of family members, they use up all their retirement taking care of other people, and then when it comes time for them, you know, as they get older, they have no money left. So she said to me, my friend, she said, no, people don't want to hear anything about money to do with caregiving because they feel like this is what women are supposed to do, and if you start introducing the concept of getting paid for this, you're really going to meet with a lot of resistance from people. So I go to this conference, I stand up, I start telling some of the stories that we've heard, and then I say what my friend has told me, but I said, I'm here and I really think people need to hear this message. At the end of the hour session, over 200 people stood in line to thank me for bringing up the fact that, and many of them told me their story over the years, how they'd quit their jobs, moved home to take care of their mother, or they'd taken care of their husband, and all the money was gone by the time their moment, you know, came for themselves, and then they had nobody to take care of them. So with that, you know, we started developing materials just so that people could make the consideration, not telling people what they should do, but making this an issue that if your siblings live at the other end of the country and you're the one doing the caregiving, you need to talk to them about the costs for you personally, either through your job or through money that you're spending all the time. So with that, that's my caveat. I'll start to get into some of these statistics. So as you can see, you know, women are pretty overwhelmed and often feel, I think, like this woman at the end of the day with the problems of the world sitting on top of her. And one of the things they often don't take charge of is their own finances, which is an important aspect and why we hope that a lot of planners will start making this point very directly with women. Next slide. So a lot of times people say to me, why women? Don't men have many of the same problems? And yes, many of them do, and many men are caregivers, but the issue is that there are so many more women than men. And at age 65, as you can see from the slide, there are 6 million more women than men. At age 70, there are 5.2 million more women than men, and at 85, there are, almost 2 million more women than men. And 71% of the age 85 and older population are women, and many of them are single, as opposed to the men. The majority of men are still married if they're living at the age of 85. So the reason that it has great significance is with the baby boomers, the age 85 plus numbers are expected to double and triple over the next 3 decades. So we're going to have millions of women that will need help and may not have the money to finance that help. Next slide. So we're trying to address these issues that put women at significant risk of poverty in retirement. And what I like to tell people is that, these issues affect us all. A couple of years ago when I spoke at a conference in Oklahoma and the governor was there, the governor said to me, he said he had been worried for a long time about the fact that he thought that we were going to have to bring back the poorhouses and that they were going to be filled with women. So anyway, it's going to affect us all. None of us want to see this happen to our neighbors and our communities. And a lot of times when I talk to people from the financial industry, many of the men will step forward and tell me really interesting stories about how neighbors get together and they take care of the 94-year-old woman. In fact, I had one CEO of a company, he said, I love my neighbor. She's 94. Her kids are both predeceased her. Her husband predeceased her. And he said the neighborhood is the only family she has.